Welcome all to the part 3 of our series Life Processes. So we continue with the digestion part. We have studied till the liver, that the liver secretes the bile juice and its function. Now we will see what does the pancreas secrete. So when we study the digestion process in the human beings, whatever is being secreted by the liver, that is the bile juice, and its function is important. Same thing goes for pancreas. What is a pancreas? What does a pancreas secrete? So pancreas will secrete something called as the pancreatic juices. So this is the first thing we have to understand, that pancreas are releasing something called as a pancreatic juice. Now it contains enzymes like trypsin. What is the function of trypsin? Trypsin is used to digest proteins, and lipase. Lipase is used to digest emulsified fats. Glands in the walls of small intestines secrete intestinal juice, which contains enzymes. They finally convert protein to amino acids, complex carbohydrates to glucose, and fats to fatty acid and glycerol. This is all very important. Understanding what does a pancreas secretes and what does trypsin do? It helps in digesting protein, and lipase helps in digesting emulsified fats. And finally, understanding that glands in the walls of small intestine are secreting intestinal juice, which contain enzymes, and these enzymes are converting the proteins into amino acids and complex carbohydrates into glucose, and fats into fatty acids and glycerol. Now next we see is that digested food is taken up by the walls of the intestine. Let's move ahead and try to understand the finer points of the human digestion system. Inner lining of the small intestine. We have a small intestine. It has few inner linings. See, this is a better way to understand the inner lining of the small intestine. Now they have finger-like projection. See, this is like the human finger. Hence it is called the finger-like projection, and it is called as villi. Now what is important about villi is that villi increases the surface area for absorption. It has increased the surface area for absorption. Villi contain blood vessels. So villi has something called as a blood vessel. So villi contains something like a blood vessel, which takes the absorbed food to all cells. So it takes the absorbed food to all the cells in the human body. In cells, it is utilized to obtain energy, build up new tissues, and repair old tissues. The unabsorbed food that is not absorbed is moved to the large intestine. Okay, whatever is absorbed is in small intestine, not absorbed goes to large intestine, where its wall absorbs more water from this material. Remaining waste material is removed from the body via anus. This removal is regulated by the anal sphincter. So what is important? Villi. The concept of villi, the function of villi is something that is important. What it is doing, how it is contributing to the process of digestion. They are increasing the surface area for absorption. They have blood vessels and everything. Okay. Then let's move ahead. Dental caries or tooth decay. I am not very sure if it is in the syllabus, but we can go through it. This is the healthy tooth decay. Has something called as carie happens, cavity deep carie, something like this. This is called dental carie, tooth decay. It is gradual softening and demineralization of enamel and dentine due to the production of acids by bacteria. They convert sugary foods to acids. Bacteria invade the pulp, causing inflammation and infection. Masses of bacteria cells together with food particles stick to teeth to form dental plaque. It prevents saliva reaching the tooth surface to neutralize acid. Brushing the teeth after eating can remove plaque. Now let's go ahead, since we are done with explaining digestive system sequentially. Let's go to the respiration system. Now what is important? What can be asked regarding the digestive system? What can be asked is the diagram, where and which parts are present. So you have to study the diagram. You have to know which parts are present where and what is the function of each part. What does liver secrete? What does pancreas secrete? Okay, why HCl acid is released in digestive system. What is its function? It is creating an acidic medium. It is killing the harmful bacteria. All that. So basically, overall, everything related to digestive system needs to be understood right from the moment we take the food in, we chew the food, till the end, till the moment the food or the unabsorbed food energy particles are removed in the form of waste from the anus using the anal sphincter. So entire digestive system is important. The diagram and the entire process is important. The functions and everything. I encourage students to read the digestive system in full detail. Now let us go into the respiration of the human body. We know that the plant takes in oxygen and organic matter and it releases. I'm sorry. Let us look at the respiration of the human body. How we take in the air, how we breathe oxygen, and how we release CO2. Okay, so what is respiration? If somebody asks you, respiration is the process of breathing or the process by which the human beings will breathe. So it is the oxidation of the food material in cells to release energy for various life processes. Ultimately, in respiration, energy is released. Some organisms will use oxygen to break down glucose into CO2 and water. That is, humans, we will use oxygen to break down glucose into CO2 and water. Some will not use oxygen. Let's go ahead and see that an experiment to prove release of CO2 during respiration in human. See, we take one pitchkari, a rubber tube, lime water, and a test tube containing lime water. Air is being passed into lime water with a syringe. Air being exhaled into lime water. What will happen? The property of CO2 is that it turns lime water milky. So when the human being is exhaling into the test tube that contains lime water, it will turn milky, and hence it will prove that release of CO2 during respiration. Like CO2 was released during respiration, that can be approved. Take some freshly prepared lime water into test tubes. In one, blow air through lime water. It immediately turns lime water milky. Other test tube, pass air using syringe. In one test tube, you have to blow water directly using your mouth, so it will turn the lime water milky, showing the presence of CO2. In another test tube, pass air using syringe or pitchkari. It takes much time to turn the lime water milky. It shows that the breath out air contains more CO2 as compared to atmospheric air. Simple experiment. Now, another experiment to prove release of CO2 during respiration in yeast. So we have yeast here, we have a test tube, we have fruit juice, sugar solution, CO2 cork, delivery test tube, lime water. Again, lime water will turn milky. Add some yeast to fruit juice or sugar solution. Take this mixture in test tube, fit it with a one-hole cork. Fit the cork with bent glass tube, dip its free end into a test tube containing freshly prepared lime water. Air taken out through the tube makes lime water milky. It is due to the production of CO2 in the mixture of yeast and sugar solution. So here fermentation occurs. Let's move ahead. What has happened to this athlete? Why is he screaming in pain? Now, this is a very important thing we have to study in respiration. The breakdown of glucose by various pathways. There are multiple pathways by which glucose, the 6-carbon molecule, is getting broken in the human body. In cytoplasm, the pyruvate is the 3-carbon molecule plus energy. What happens if there is no oxygen in yeast? We get the formation of ethanol, 2-carbon plus CO2 plus energy. If there is no oxygen in muscle cells, this thing happens, the formation of lactic acid that leads to the formation of cramps, plus energy is released. In mitochondria, in the presence of oxygen, if pyruvate is like if glucose gets broken down in the presence of oxygen in mitochondria, CO2 plus water plus energy is released. So these are the various pathways by which the glucose is broken down. No oxygen in yeast, no oxygen in muscle cell, and in the presence of oxygen in mitochondria. So what happens that while we are running, if there is less oxygen in muscle cells, if oxygen is not reaching in muscle cells, so the glucose gets broken down and the formation of lactic acid takes place, which leads to the cramp in the human body. That's the entire phenomena. In all types of respiration, first step is the breakdown of glucose, the 6-carbon into pyruvate, 3-carbon. It takes place in cytoplasm. Now we study what is anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration is a respiration in the absence of air, oxygen. There will be no air or oxygen. It releases less energy. In yeast, the pyruvate is converted into ethanol and CO2. It occurs during fermentation. Sometimes when there is no oxygen in our muscle cells, the pyruvate breaks down into lactic acid. That is 3-carbon. This build-up of lactic acid in muscles during sudden activity causes us cramps. Just what I had explained. Now let's move ahead. and see the aerobic respiration. What exactly is aerobic respiration? It is the respiration that takes place in presence of air. In the presence of air, in the presence of oxygen, this respiration is taking place. It releases much energy. Here pyruvate breaks down using oxygen in the mitochondria, giving 3 CO2 molecules and water. Okay. So what is aerobic respiration? Aerobic respiration is the respiration in presence of air or oxygen. It releases much energy, and here pyruvate breaks down using oxygen in the mitochondria, giving 3 CO2 molecules and water. Okay. Let's move ahead and understand respiration in more depth. Glucose plus O2, cell membrane, mitochondria, CO2 plus H2O, and ATP. Energy released during cellular respiration is used immediately to synthesize ATP molecules from ADP and inorganic phosphate. ADP plus phosphate gives energy in ATP and P and ATP. ATP is used to fuel all other cellular activities. When the terminal phosphate linkage in ATP is broken using water energy is released. It drives the endothermic reactions in cell. So what is a battery? Battery is used to obtain mechanical energy, light energy, electrical energy, etc. Similarly, ATP can be used for muscle contraction, protein synthesis, conduction of nervous impulses, etc. Okay, let's move ahead. Try to understand the gas exchange in plants. Okay, during the day, the plants will take CO2 and release oxygen. Glucose is the food that they make, and the water and minerals is absorbed from the roots. Okay, at night they are absorbing oxygen and releasing water and CO2 and glucose. So what is a gas exchange? Gaseous exchange is the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide that takes place in the plants. So gas exchange in plants, it occurs through the stomata. We have a stomata. This is a closed stomata. This is open stomata. When the stomata is open, CO2 can enter, or H2 and O2 can go out of it. It occurs through stomata. Here CO2 and oxygen are exchanged by diffusion. The large intercellular spaces in leaves help the cells in contact with air. During the day, what happens? During the day, CO2 formed by respiration is used for photosynthesis. So CO2 is not released, but O2 is released. During the day, they use CO2, which was formed by respiration. So this CO2 is used for the process of photosynthesis, for making their own food. CO2 is not released, O2 is released. At night, photosynthesis does not occur. So CO2 is released out, but oxygen is not released. Let's go ahead and see some gaseous exchange in animals. If you buy fish, you see the gill color is red. That indicates that the fish is fresh. So how does the fish breathe? They breathe because of these gills. Water flows in through mouth, fish gill, water flows over gills, then out. Okay. Aquatic animals breathe dissolved oxygen in water. In fishes, respiratory organ is the gills, with gill slits behind their eyes. They may be covered by operculum. During breathing, fishes open and close mouth and gill slits in a coordinated manner and timing. They take in water through mouth and pumps over the gills. From the gills, dissolved O2 is taken up by blood. The amount of dissolved oxygen is lower than that in air, so the rate of breathing in aquatic organisms is faster than that in terrestrial organisms. Okay, so the amount of dissolved O2 is lower than that in the air. Where it is lower? It is lower in the seabed or ocean bed or in the water than that in the air. So the rate of breathing in aquatic organism is faster than that in terrestrial organism, because they have to take in lesser oxygen. So they will be breathing very fast. Okay, that's why you see the fish is trying to breathe very fast in water. Let's go ahead and see that gaseous exchange in animals. In territorial animals, there are different types of organs to breathe atmospheric oxygen. They increase surface area which is in contact with the atmosphere. Surface of respiratory organs is very fine and delicate for easy gas exchange. To protect this surface, it is placed within the body. So some passages are necessary to carry air in and out of respiratory organ. So we will start the process of human respiratory system and we'll study it in much more detail in the next part of our video. For this part, we'll stop at this particular juncture. Thank you everyone for joining with me in this video.